Hello there. Today is May 16th, and I woke up this morning with the radio blaring in my ear and people saying, well, the virus did this, the virus did that, do this to regulate, do this from spreading, and the virus won't inflict more death. Folks, it's silly. Do you know what? People are saying the virus crashed our economy. No, it didn't. And so now I had to write a piece here. And I asked a few questions, and I'm just going to pose it to you just so you would consider it. I wrote this piece and I asked a few questions. I borrowed these questions, some of these questions, from Ezra Levant, who is a blogger on Canadian TV. Obviously, I'm speaking about Canada. People crashed the economy. It wasn't the virus that crashed the economy. It was the people who were just following orders or just obeying the law. You know, I secretly had a laugh at a manager of a bank who was getting out a big, long yardstick just to show this is how far apart I want you to line up. The virus didn't give any orders. It was the people who obeyed the commands of tyrants that crashed the economy and ruined the livelihood of others. Yes, I've been into stores and I complained a little bit. Not much. After all, I still wanted to have the goods. I wanted to do some shopping. And they said, I'm sorry, I'm just doing my job. So, my thing is, instead of asking questions or using critical thinking skills, to ask if something is right before doing it, people simply obeyed perceived authority. Folks, people who haven't trusted politicians and experts before this pandemic are now trusting everything they say. The truth is, the lockdown is the fault of everyone who complied and everyone who used force to exact revenge on those who disobeyed. Do you know, it's our media that keeps blaming the economic devastation on the coronavirus. But it wasn't the fault of the virus, absolutely not. It was the fault of the government and the slave mentality. Folks, a lot of us do have a slave mentality of the police and the public willing to obey their commands. The media doesn't want you to put the blame where it belongs and figure out things for yourself. So they hide behind deception headlines that will keep you in fear of COVID-19 as long as possible. The truth is, believe me, I suffer from it myself sometimes. Blind obedience is the lazy way out and easier than rational, critical thinking. Believe me, it is. But now, of all times, I would like to call you to do some critical thinking. To illustrate this, I'm going to illustrate this right now with 9 simple questions. 9 simple questions. Number 1, we were told to shut down society to flatten the curve. Well, presently, as of May 16th, there is no curve, and it never materialized as predicted. So why are we still in lockdown? Question number 2. No one under 20 years old has died of this virus. I repeat, no one. CBC, Global TV, CTV, everybody has tried so hard to pin deaths and disease on people under 20. Again, no one under 20 years old has died of this virus. That's 8 million Canadians that aren't dying or aren't at the risk that we say they are. So why shut down schools, children's sports, summer camps? Question number 3. On May 4th, 2020, the Globe and Mail of all papers stated that 312 detailed studies, I mean these were studies from every university in Canada, including McMaster University, and even Harvard and Yale down in the States, Berkeley, all of them. 312 detailed studies of clustered gatherings. These are people that gathered. They were at the swimming hole down in Florida, swimming off the coast of California. Clustered gatherings, all kinds of them. 312 detailed studies related to the coronavirus. Not a single case of infection could be attributed to casual contact outdoors at any age. So why did we shut down playgrounds and parks? Question number 4. Why did our politicians and leaders threaten us with huge fines when visiting friends and family when they, after they announced this, did it themselves? Plus, they're getting regular haircuts. Why should we trust our leaders in what they say when their actions show something completely different? Really? Number 5. Scientific experts have warned us about impending crises such as global warming. We're all going to be underwater by the year 2020, blah, blah, blah. Scientific experts have warned us about impending crises and failing at predictions even 2 weeks into the future about this pandemic. You see, none of their models have ever come true. So why trust these so-called experts that have a zero, really zero fulfillment results? How could you trust anybody that nothing ever came true that they said? Really, it boggles my mind. Number 6, question number 6. How can a country like Canada, with any semblance of self-respect, find it acceptable? Nobody's making a stink about it. Canada, on the whole, finds it acceptable to have the only head of state that stays at home. The only head of state, our premier, our prime minister, stays at home. And what does he do? Wait for it. Nothing. So, how can we find that acceptable? Number 7, question number 7. Why did Parliament on April the 1st give themselves a big hefty raise and jack up the carbon tax by 50% when many of us are laid off and struggling just to survive. You see, I even had to cut down to 2 meals a day just so that I could have proper things to eat. It's true. But they give themselves a raise and jack up our carbon tax. Well, right now, I don't mind much because I'm not heating. Right now, summer's coming. But next winter, I'm going to really feel it. Question number 8. You know what? I wish I was making this up. About 5,300 people in Canada so far have died of this virus. That sounds very serious. Remember, we have a population of 35 million. On May 7th, 2020, the Toronto Star, and by the way, these deaths have been since the beginning of February. February, March, April, now we're into May. On May 7th, 2020, the Toronto Star, one of the most liberal newspapers in all of Canada, revealed that 82% of the COVID-19 deaths have been in long-term care facilities or were seriously ill already. 82% of 5,300 people. Taking this out of the equation, that leaves a death toll of 1,000 people among how many? 35 million. 1,000 out of 35 million. But in any year, according to Stats Canada, yes, Stats Canada, as of 2018 Stats Canada, they haven't come out with the 2019 Stats Canada yet, but we're going any given year by Stats Canada. The death toll across Canada for viral pneumonia and for the flu is between 6,597 and 8,500. So did we destroy 2 million jobs as a result of the flu? You see, this virus, if we extrapolate this, will give us a similar number. Actually less. So why are we shutting down this country as a result of that? My question. Question number 9, the last question I have to ask. You see, many of the institutionalized long-term facilities, I'm not going to name names, and the large meat packing facilities employ very cheap temporary foreign workers. I know this because last summer I was working in a mushroom farm. And yes, they were packed in tight, breathing their stale air in bunkhouse type settings. Folks, many of the institutional long-term care facilities and large meat packing plants and agricultural enterprises employ very cheap, temporary foreign workers who are exempt from our common labor laws and live, commute, and sleep in bunkhouses. Furthermore, long-term care workers often work in multiple homes and thus become super spreaders of this disease. Now that we've established the present non-existence, or, wow, almost non-existence of our pandemic crisis, why the continued shutdown, and when can we get back to work? That means Canadians get back to work.